couple of things. Next event is scheduled for April 7th. We will have Mr. Excel, Bill Jelen, presenting about pivot tables. Don't miss it. It will be a good one, I'm sure. And then we have in May, I don't have the topic yet, but in May, I believe the 12th, we will have John Peltier presenting to us. And there's other things coming up already being prepared for you. I have a couple of events to tell you about. I'm going to just switch over to that in a minute. If you want to just post on your social media, we would really appreciate that. It helps spreading the news, letting more people know that this free content is available. Remember to use the hashtag MS Excel Toronto so that we can find each other's posts in there and comment and share and everything. David Benaim, our presenter that I will be presenting very soon. He's on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and he has his own YouTube channel. Great content there, so feel free to connect with him there. So let me just share my screen here. A couple of events that may be interesting for you. Power BI Summit in April. So I can put these links on the chat window in a minute. Microsoft Ignite is happening today through the 4th, if not mistaken. Let me know if you were attending today and what news did you like to hear there. I was able to watch the first maybe 90 minutes. This looked like a science fiction movie there with all the virtual reality, augmented reality, and I don't know what else, holograms and all that, and cloud. And I just thought, well, after all this, I don't think anything will impress us. Any new feature on Teams will be just a minor thing. It won't impress us much after that presentation. But I'm looking forward to see what else is announced there. Another event, Dfinity, it's also about Power Platform. I will put this in the session in the chat too, so that you can. This is happening in March, it seems. There's different locations and dates that you can check. And just to very quick news about Excel. In the blog today, in the for about Excel, in the Excel blog, in the Microsoft community there, some new features being announced about for the Excel Online version. It's interesting. I don't know if you have tried Excel Online, and if you like me, I did that. I went one time to use Excel Online, or one of the first times I used Excel Online. I started using it, expecting it to behave exactly as the desktop version. So don't do that. Don't go there with that expectation, because you will get upset. So, and this post just reminds us how much work needs to be done to have things that we just had for granted, and we have had for granted in the desktop version. For example, easier worksheet navigation, multiple range selection. I mean, we think this is just a basic feature, that we could select multiple ranges holding down Control and dragging our mouse around the spreadsheet, but it seems it was not available in Excel Online, but now it is. Zoom in, zoom out, Excel keyboard shortcuts by default, version history, regional settings, and other things. So you can check these. I can put the link if you want to check these blog posts. And another interesting news, this is not so much about Excel, but it does remind me of Excel, because it says that Power Automate desktop for Windows 10 at no additional cost. So I haven't read it carefully yet, but it seems that we will be able to create automations, and companies will be able to run automations in Power Automate without additional cost. And if that is true, that's a big thing. For example, for VBA, one of the excuses I've been giving myself not to push me to start using Power Automate quicker than I am doing is that, well, companies who have who want to implement Power Automate, and if it is something that they need to run a lot of times, it will bring them costs. Whereas when they have a VBA automation, it's once it's done and paid, then they can run it forever without any extra cost. But apparently Microsoft is also doing some moves about that. So I thought it was interesting to share this news with you. And that's it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I also, before we jump in, I am not sure if, I know that Danielle Fairhurst is here with us. I'm not sure if Mark Proctor is also or not. Maybe he is not because it's late in the UK where he lives. Both Mark and Danielle have been granted MVP nomination award, MVP award, Microsoft MVP award. So congratulations to both of you. Mark has been a month maybe, and Danielle, I just heard the news today. And it is very interesting because David Benaim was the one nominating Danielle. So David, if you want to tell us a little bit about why you think that Danielle's contribution to the community has been important, feel free to share a few words about that. For me,
yeah, thank you,
she's been a model for sure to follow. Just let me tell this. Sorry, when I had to start to run the meetings, these sessions online, I woke up in the middle of the night to be able to attend Danielle's sessions because she runs a meetup there, or several meetup sessions. She does a lot of free content and free meetings there in Australia. And for me, it was like 2 or 3 a.m. But I woke up to attend one or two of those sessions so that I could see how she was doing it and try to learn how to do this myself. So, and there's other things that Danielle has done, and that I'll let you speak about it. I think there's a little bit of lag.
All right, thank you, Celia. Hello, my name is David. So yeah, before I give my presentation, just Danielle was, I met her at the first ever Excel conference I went to back in 2016 in Australia. That was long before I was on the route to becoming an MVP. But yeah, we met and we both realized that we were very into Excel, and Danielle at that time had written a few books and was doing quite a lot. I was very, very beginner to this stuff. And then a few years later, we started collaborating, and I was running some of the meetup groups that she organizes in Australia. I was running some of those in London. And then we saw each other again in 2019 for another Excel conference in Australia. And yeah, since the pandemic started is really where I think that her meetup group, Financial Modeling in Excel, which is brilliant, has been focusing on a different kind of avenues and trying to get different people all over the world. They started right when the pandemic began, and she's also done a lot for to promote like women in this space, which is unfortunately not as prominent as it should be. So yeah, so congrats, Danielle. This is what nominated her, and having worked with her for a few years, it's been really, really good. And I'm really glad that she was to make it into the list of the MVPs. So congrats.
Yeah. Thank you for having nominated Danielle, David, and thank you for mentioning that work that she's been doing with trying to bring more women to the financial modeling space. So that's another thing that I think is very interesting. So congratulations, Danielle and Mark. I don't see Mark here. And let me present David, because I haven't presented David yet. David, one of the things that he does and I enjoy a lot is YouTube channel. And he talks about many different things there. Not only Excel, but also Google Sheets, as you will see today, Teams, PowerPoint, all kinds of interesting stuff. So, and it has helped me a couple of times finding his content there to solve any challenge I have at the moment. So thank you for that, David, and thank you for being up so early at 6 a.m. in the morning to present to the group here in Toronto. We are looking forward to learn from you. So just go ahead and let us know what you have for us.
Great. All right, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. My desktop over here. Yes, good. So, thank you, Celia, for the introduction. Thank you for inviting me to be a speaker. I'm actually based in Cambodia, on the other side of the world to most people, and it's 6 a.m. here. I ever wrote was called 7 Things That Google Sheets Does Better Than Excel, and I published this in June 2018, so coming up to 2 to 3 years ago. And what was interesting was, although I published that in June 2018, 6 months down the line, so by the end of the year, Excel had actually added 3 out of 7 of those features. And now more recently, it's probably added another 2. So it's added most of those features that I talked about were some really great things back in the day, because although it used to be that Google is trying to make what Excel already does, it's now away. Although it's well as copying a lot from Google, including dynamic arrays. Dynamic arrays have been in Google for a long time. And Excel came up with this thing, and they broadcasted it as this revolutionary new feature that's going to redo the way Excel's formula engine works. And I agree, dynamic arrays are brilliant. I'm going to cover them later in this session. But Google had them for a long time before. And I have a YouTube channel with 2.5K subscribers. I'll drop a link in the chat box in a little bit. But in my YouTube channel, as Celia said, I talk about Power BI, Excel, PowerPoint, love PowerPoint, Google Sheets, Teams, Outlook, OneNote. I love just a lot of business technology that's involved.
Seems your internet connection is not good, David.
Post on, but it's by no means accountant where the connection is not good. Okay. Let me. Okay, is that better now?
It seems like it is.
Yeah. Okay, good. So so I became a chartered accountant. Then I became an MVP. Recently, 1,000 people, mostly in Excel, and then I've done consulting with over 120 organizations, mostly around systems health. All right, so we're going to go through success story. Hello, is that okay?
Yeah, it's the kind of, I don't know how it is for other people. If you can type there in the chat and let me know. For me, I'm kind of hearing a little bit, and then it breaks, and then it kind of accelerates. Not great. Fading in and out. Many cuts on transmission. Breaking up.
Let me. Okay. Okay. Let's now. Okay. Well, let me try switching my connection. I'm going to. Sorry about this.
No worries.
Yeah, I could.
And if you want to turn off your camera, maybe it helps a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, let me try that first up. Okay. So let me try sharing my screen again. Okay. Is that better without my camera?
It sounds a little bit more stable now. Let's see if it holds on.
Sorry about this. And yeah, that's another tip. Turn off incoming video. Although there isn't really much. Okay. All right. Well, let's go like this and see how it turns. All right. Seems good. So we're going to go through 6 sections today. And at the end of each section, then I'm going to get people to vote for what they think did better, Excel or Google Sheets. We're going to tackle the same situation with Excel versus Google Sheets in these different scenarios. And then we're going to launch a poll at the end of each section so people can vote for what they think works better. So to start off, though, I'm going to introduce some Google Sheets only features in the collaboration space. So I know a lot of the people here are familiar with Excel more than Google, but I'm going to show off some Google Sheets collaboration features. So at this stage, Excel is now able to do simultaneous editing. You can save things live, and both Excel and Google Sheets can do filter views as well. So what filter views means is that you can filter something and that doesn't affect what other people are seeing if you're editing a document live. This is using Excel Desktop. You can edit a file directly in Excel Desktop without going into online, and other people can edit on Excel Desktop in the same file as long as they have Office 365. The document gets saved live, and yeah, you can access this filter view feature. So again, Google Sheets has been doing that for a long time, but Excel took it over. But let me show you some of the stuff that when it comes to Colab, Google really does better. So right over here, I've got a Google Sheets file, and this I'm able to set up notifications. So I can go to Tools and I can say Notification Rules, and I can just say notify me on my email address when any changes are made, and I can either do that daily or right away as the change is being made. This is really great. Also, if you work with Google Forms, you get people to complete a form, which I use quite often, although I also use Microsoft Forms, even more than Google Forms, to do the same thing. But this notification feature that it sends you an email when someone makes a change is really good. And so you just say when you want to do it, press save, and then it will send you that notification via email. You can set up different notification rules as well. So another thing that I really like is just when you just want someone to check or edit a specific cell or a specific range, you can select some cells, you can right click, and you can go to get link to this range. And then rather than getting a link to the whole file, they will get a link just to those cells here, which is really convenient because it allows them to be able to edit and know that they need to look at those cells or those things in between. Very little things there, but I think they really make a difference. Next, you've got edit history. So Excel, you can go and backtrack and see how a file looked before, but Google Sheets allows you to do this cell by cell. So if you right click and you choose show edit history, it will show you who made the edit, what time, and then how it looked before, and then how it looked before that. And here it's always been me making the edits, because initially I just copied this file. The edit was copied from the original document, but if anyone else has made that change over the span of days, weeks, months, it would show you those differences, which is pretty nice. And filter views, so I can just show you how that looks in Google, although it looks pretty much the same in Excel. You can click down arrow there and choose create new filter view. And this means that only you are seeing it, this black outline. And then I can filter it here and show you only female, for example. If I want to keep this filter view, I can rename it, and then it will allow me to shortcut to it immediately. But that is different to if I want to just filter on my own. So I'm going to click on none here. And then if I just filter in the normal way, as we are used to with Excel or Google Sheets, then it is going to filter for everyone, which is not very useful for a collaborative environment. Excel does the same thing. So in Excel, I can go to, they've put it in the View tab, which is not so obvious, but once I save this to the cloud, then I will be able to access the filter views here. Okay. So the last one is being able to protect the sheet. So Excel does allow you to restrict people from accessing things, but Google just goes to the next level and allows you to restrict it by user. So what I like is that you can specify which cells you want them to be able to restrict, rather than Excel, which is which ones you want people to be able to edit. And I can go to Tools, and I can choose Protect Sheet, and I can say Protect the range. So it could just be, you know, just your formulas like these ones, and you can say, OK, and then set permissions. And you can actually say, who do you want to be able to edit things? So you can give people's email addresses or user groups if you're in a Google domain as well, and those people will be able to edit it as well as the entire sheet. So this is just what I think is just the next level of what Excel allows you to do. You also have Google Translate, which is quite nice. So you can let's translate this cell to French, to Chinese, to Hebrew, although notice it doesn't take Excel. And then if I put in back to English here, I can just drag that down. And then, yeah, my connection is loading up. It's a little bit slower than it usually is, as you can tell. Sorry about that. I think there's something about internet early in the morning here. Usually during the day, it's totally fine. But yeah, usually that would translate it back across into English. And it's just a simple function equals Google Translate the text. The source language, I just put auto, so it does it automatically, and then translates it back to the 2-letter acronym here. All right, so that is a bit of an intro, which I wanted to do with the collaboration features. So yeah, I am following in the chat window, so if you like what you see, give me a wow in the chat. But going into mobile is where I think Excel goes better. Excel mobile is not used by many, but it is actually a constantly improving product. So for example, because we're on mobile, we're not able to really see very well an entire row of data. But if you select a row of data as shown in the screenshot, you can really get it to show you either in these cards or also in this sort of column view exactly what's going on there. So don't dismiss Excel Mobile. They've also recently joined an iPad app for Microsoft Office, so it is now iPad optimized as well. The mobile is becoming better and better for sure. I would still say it's a little bit slow to use, but the mobile app is becoming better for Excel, not so much for Google. So going into tables, and here we'll have two sessions. We'll have creating tables and recording data, and then we'll look at pivot tables. I just love this game. Yes.
Do you want to release the poll or not yet?
No, not yet. No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. The first one was just kind of Google Colab. Then the next one is tables, and then pivot tables. So we've got two in this section. So in Excel, I absolutely love this feature that you can go to some data, you can select it, and you can go to insert and table. It's really one of the most underused features, I believe, in the entirety of Excel. You can change your styles, you can do all sorts of things with it. And then it's also got some special features, like as you add a new column or row, it automatically expands and keeps a lot of those same formatting features. You might want to give it a name like this. Save this as something else. There we go. Okay, so it is able to do a lot of new features like that, and it also gives some special ways to work with formulas. So let's say I have something I want to do here, like equals count A of all of the files here, all the cells here. It will refer to that as a column name like this, and it will say there are 14 rows in this data, and that automatically grows as new data comes in. So you don't have any more this thing that if you have a link to some cells and then you grow it, it doesn't quite work that well. It also works inside the cell. So for example, here I could say equals this date minus 5 days, and then it will refer to the formula of the column. So not equals F2, it will refer to the date column. And then it will automatically fill in the entire column. If you don't want that, you can press Ctrl-Z to undo, and it will just do in that cell. But it works really, really well like that. And I just find it makes your entire Excel infrastructure much, much better. You have some other features as well, like you can resize it. You can add a total row over here, and then you can say for each one, do you want it to be a sum or a count or an average? You can drag that down. It formats it completely differently as well. So it can work very, very well like that as well. So Google Sheets does not have this feature, as we'll look at in a little bit. But the other thing that I wanted to show is that Excel, in the Home tab, you have conditional formatting. I love conditional formatting. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail here. But one thing that Google doesn't do that I love is highlighting duplicate values. So you have here the duplicate values in whatever color you want. And the moment that isn't a duplicate anymore, maybe this is 2021, then both of them go into there and stop being highlighted. So switching into Google Sheets now. So Google Sheets doesn't quite have the same. It has kind of a halfway house. You can select some data, you can go to format, and you can choose alternating colors. So it allows you to choose the style that you want. And if you add a new column or a new row, then it will bring those formats across. But that's all it does. It doesn't do anything for freeze panes. It doesn't do anything for formulas. It just allows it to grow in terms of its formatting. I still like it because it still makes the formatting much easier and nicer than before, but that's kind of all it does. So other things that Google can do, you can actually have an image inside a cell, which is fantastic. So you can have a URL and you can use an image function, and you can refer to this URL. You can also have certain modes, like do you want this to fill out the cell or auto expand? You have certain features that you can do there. So that means that it auto expands based on the size, or the default one that doesn't stretch is the one that I usually use like this. And as long as you have an image in a URL, then it can work. And more recently, they added the way to insert an image over inside a cell as well by just uploading any image that you want from your computer. So something that I really like, you can use these images as we'll see in VLOOKUPs and in pivot tables, and it just works so well compared to Excel where you have to insert an image and that kind of is a floating object over different cells. So another useful thing, very, very quick tip, but you can select this and you can go to data and you can choose just to trim white space. So it does what it says on the tin. It takes off any white space before text, anytime in between where there's more than one, and any time afterwards. So there you go, trimmed white spaces from 5 selected cells. In Excel, you can do this through the trim function, which you can as well in Google, but it's just so nice that you can do it in 2 clicks without having to use a formula. Also, Excel has Power Query, which is a fantastic tool that allows you to do the trim feature as well. Going further with the images, you can also get Excel to auto-generate a QR code. So if you use this, you can fetch some Google APIs and you can convert any website into a QR code. So if I take my YouTube link like this one and I copy it, I can just go into here and paste that. And then if I drag down this formula, then it will load the QR code that I can just copy and paste anywhere. So a really, really simple trick, but I actually use this Google QR code generator a lot to do just that. All right, so that's it for tables. So now let's launch the poll in what I talked about.
Can I just ask, how do you generate the QR code? I could not understand that.
So it's so I'm fetching this Google API feature.
Oh, okay.
I can copy and paste
image.
I'll copy and paste this in the chat.
Okay, I see.
So an if blank before that, but effectively, you don't need to know how this works. In fact, I just copy and pasted it from someone else who did it. But yeah, this is how you do it in Google, and then it can auto-generate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. We also have QR codes in Excel, but I don't think they are dynamic like that.
Yeah, not quite as well. They can work a little.
With the add-in and things like that. But
so yeah, shall we launch a poll then?
Sure. Okay, so let's see if I know how to do this. I learned from your video this morning. Let's see. Yeah. So round number 1, I should click launch, right?
Yes, yes. This is just tables.
Launch. Let's see what happens. So it says live, and now anyone can reply and select an answer and submit. I don't know. I don't know if it's showing or not.
Go into the chat window. No, I don't see it. So you should be able to just click on it and then press launch.
So it should show on the chat. Is that what you're saying?
It is showing in the chat.
Okay.
It is. Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, I see it now.
And the results is right on it.
All right. So we've got lots of responses. Cool.
So we have, it's updating. We have 21 responses so far. So I think everyone can see it in the chat then. That's how we should see the results, David? Or is there a way to show them on the screen, just in the chat, right?
No, just in the chat, yeah. So yeah, it seems like Excel has won with this one, 19-3. Someone can't see the the poll, and go to the chat window.
We cannot let go of the tables. So if Google Sheets does not have tables.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I mean, the alternating formats, I think, are
and
nice,
the
but
conditional
for sure
format.
the table.
Yeah. But the other features in Google Sheets are very cool too. Yeah.
Right. So next one is pivot tables, or well, analysis in general. So let's say this just got released in Google Sheets about 6 months ago. So what you can do is you can have something. Actually, let me give some numbers in here. So just any number equals random between 4 and 900. Like that. So what you can do is you can select a column and you can go to data and you can choose column stats. It's a very, very, very simple one. It will just tell you how many times each thing has been picked. You can click on a different column and it will show you that distribution. You have here a summary of the most and the least as well. And if you go to a numerical field, it will just show you a distribution list like this. So
David.
David. Together.
Yeah, I think your connection is breaking again.
For you. Sorry about this. This really happens. Okay, let me try
it's
and
better.
switch.
Now it's sounding better.
Okay, and
it was quite good, the portion before.
Okay, now it's okay.
It sounds okay. Yeah, it's if you don't mind to start a little bit. Before this.
Okay. Yeah. So if I click on a column, I can go to data and then I can choose column stats and it will give me the count of how many times each one has been mentioned in this nice pretty chart. I can't really export it. I can ignore rows. So if there's a title, I can take that off like that. If I go to a numerical field, I can go to distribution and it will show me this one here. And it also shows me like how many empty cells, what the sum, the average is, things like that. So a nice little trick. If you like what you see, give me a wow in the chat as well. You can also select a table and you have here Explore on the bottom right. And it will do the same kind of thing, but for the entire table. Okay, it's not working. Yeah, honestly, this is the worst internet connection I've had in like 6 months right now. Sorry about that. Usually it's absolutely perfect. So usually that would give me a summary of what's happening in here. So pivot tables, you can insert, go to data tab in Google Sheets and go to a pivot table. Choose that in an existing sheet here. And then you can say you want to see rows and city. And then in values, I can say number, for example, and give that a sum or something. So it's less kind of practical than Excel, that you can't just tick things. You have to choose which bucket first. You can choose to show as a % of total as well here, like Excel, but it's a little bit less sophisticated. It doesn't have as many options. What I do love about it, though, is that it is actually dynamically updating. So if this changes to, say, Phnom Penh, then that automatically goes into this bucket. If I have a very, very big number here, then we can see that Phnom Penh is going to grow as soon as I press enter, like that. So you don't have to click the refresh button, and I absolutely love that. I can understand why when pivot tables were created in 1995, it made sense for them to need to click to refresh. But we live in an age of AI. Why can pivot tables not refresh in Excel automatically? It really annoys me. Another Google Sheets thing, which is in the Analysis tab, is you have a count unique and a count unique if. So you just want to know how many cities have we been to. You can just select the city column and then close your brackets, press enter, and you get 8 cities. You can't do that in Excel. This function does not exist. You also have the if version of that if you want to get a number of that. In Excel, you just have count and count at. You can only get the number to return the total number of rows, which is number 14, which is not that useful. Although I will show you how to do that in Excel with pivot tables. So back in Excel, you can actually go on the Home tab to analyze data. And this is something that Excel stole from Explore. So pretty much everything here. It does give you some insights, so you can see that Phnom Penh has the most number of things. This is a new feature, Office 365, gives you majorities, gives you some trends over time, some outliers here. So this one appears most often. And if you click this, this will insert a pivot table with a pivot chart. You can also ask a question about your data. So you can say, for example, let's have another column for amount. So and you can say, let me select this one, analyze data. You can say amount by city, and then we'll give that to you in this. Or you could say in pie chart. Not that you should use pie charts, but you can get that to work. You can also, you can actually use a count unique in here. So I can say how many cities there. And this will give you a distinct count. But you can not do that through an actual function in Excel. And if you press insert, it actually inserts this with a very roundabout way of doing a count unique function. So there's a little trick. If you go to a pivot table, I will show you a pivot table trick as we go along here. So I can insert a pivot table in an existing worksheet. I'm going to click add this to the data model to show you this next feature. And by doing that, I'm not going to go into Power Pivot, but one of the things you can actually do is you can go to city, put that in values, and you can go to value field settings and choose here a distinct count. So this will be a distinct count of the city column here. So I can also do that for continent. Instead of a count, I can choose a distinct count over here. So the only way you can do that is by clicking that button that says add to data model. You can also do it in rows. Excel automatically groups it together. And if you have an amount here, you can show it like this. But one thing that I also love is the ability to, well, customize this by grouping it. I don't like quarters, so I'm going to do months and years. And what you can do as well is you can, let's bring amount again in here. You can right click on here and you can choose show values as, and I'm going to choose % difference from, and then I'm going to choose in base item previous, like this. So this is a % month-on-month change that you can do with a pivot table, which is pretty good. You can't do that with Google. But Google allows a distinct count. It allows the auto refresh as well. So yeah, so that's it for that one. Let's have another go with Explore to see if that works as we vote. It's still giving me the load buttons. Okay, it's not quite working. All right, so that is my comparison of Excel pivot tables versus Google Sheets. and general comparison. So Google, we had work column statistics, and we had count unique and auto update pivot table. In Excel, I showed you some other tricks, and I did show you data analysis, but Explore didn't work here, but they do more or less the same thing. So yeah, let's have a vote. Do you want to launch the poll, please?
Just a second. So round number 2, launch. It should be showing up in the, it's the same question all the time, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it should be showing in the chat. Let's see. Is it showing in the chat? It's not showing for me yet. Do I need to?
No, I don't see it.
Maybe.
Try launching it again.
So I clicked polls at the top of the meeting and I see round 2, which do you think is better, but there's no options underneath it.
Oh, so that's why. So let me just, I cannot edit it. So I'm going to put to launch round 3. Maybe
Yeah.
I made a mistake when building the poll. I forgot to put, I don't know.
Yes. Now
So there's round 3 there. Okay, and I'll see if I can prepare another one.
All right, we've
So
got some results.
Yeah, we have 12, 13 answers.
Okay, Excel winning from some pivot table. Ooh, something tells me Excel is going to win this every time. Huh. Well,
you have a biased audience.
I disagree. Definitely for the next section. So good. Okay, cool. So let's go into the next section. So we are going to go a little bit over this time. We had the introduction session, so we're probably going to go over by about 20 minutes. Of course, if you need to leave that,
that's
okay.
fine. Yeah. We had a little bit of trouble with the connection, and I also took some time with the announcements. So if you are okay with time, David, we are too. And
yes.
Anyone who wants to catch up with the recording later, they can too if they need to leave.
Yes. Great. Okay, good. So I've got a few questions. I'll tackle those later on. So next is validation, data validation. So quite simply, you can have checkboxes in a cell. These are so useful. It's very, very easy to do. All you do is select some cells and then go to Insert. And then you have checkbox like this. That's all it is. Very, very useful. You can even multi-select and press the space and then select all of them at the same time. You can even select them, go to data and data validation, and you can assign a value to them. So I can say use custom values, and checked could be, for example, 3, and unchecked could be, for example, 1. Press OK, and then you can just say equals sum of all of these, and it will give you 3, 12 plus 1. So something that I just love. I use this all the time. It's really, really easy and convenient to fill stuff in. Next, in Google Sheets, whenever you put data validation in a cell for a date, you automatically can double click it and get a date picker. How nice is that? All you have to do is go to data and then data validation, and then say that this needs to be a date, give it some parameters, or even is valid date, and then you double click it and get the date picker. Or even if you have a date already, and it gives you that date picker without adding data validation. Excel have been saying for a while, they might do this, they might not, but it's just been in Google for ages. So if you like what you see, give me a wow comment. Next, and probably the real reason I love Google Sheets. And this next thing is, it might seem like a small feature, but this is without a doubt the reason that I choose to use Excel to implement some solutions instead, or I choose to use Google instead of Excel to implement some solutions. And that is because it does autocomplete for drop-down lists. So to show you what that means, I have a drop-down list here. As I type in a new value, as soon as I start typing, it gives me this with autocomplete. Doesn't matter whether or not I typed anything in the cell above, but if I type in, it restricts to everything that I need, and I can use my arrows to navigate that. So this is, without a doubt, something that makes data entry in a spreadsheet 5 times faster when you have drop-down lists. And whenever I implement solutions, I always advise data validation wherever you can. And for me, this makes the experience of the user 5 times faster than needing to click here and navigate between. It also solves the solution of dependent drop-down list. In fact, you don't need dependent drop-down list, because when I have this, as it works with every word, I can type in anything from the city name to the country name, and it will still give me that in the drop-down list. I absolutely love this.
David,
so
David,
come close
David,
to that. Yes.
just a moment. I'm a little bit confused with the stuff here, because are you saying that we don't have data validation in Excel, or are you saying it's just easier in Google?
So good question. Let me demo Excel side by side. So let me go into Excel, into validation. So in Excel, yes, you have the drop-down list, but you can't autocomplete and type it. So if I'm here and I write, for example, CMRE, I don't get that to give me an option.
Even the right-click and pick from list option, the flash fill, like all of these things does not help when you're doing that?
So imagine, essentially, no. Like imagine a scenario where you have to mass enter like 200 rows of data. And each time you have to choose from the list over here and scroll down to the one that you want.
Okay.
With Google, you type in an autocomplete. We're all used to this with web services.
Okay.
So, you know, in Excel, let me set this up on the fly. I can select like UK, France, Spain, like this. And then I can type here, and I can go to data and data validation, a list. I can choose all of these 3. And yes, absolutely, if I click here, I can choose the option, but as I start typing it, I don't get the autocomplete feature. The autocomplete, though, is what really makes things faster, and it makes you able to have this version of a dependent drop-down list where you have continent, country, and city, because all you need to do is start typing any one of those 3, and it will just give you that option.
So it does exist, it's just you find it easier in Google.
Well, you can click on it, but it's like the equivalent of, you know, let's say that I go to Expedia and try and book a flight like this. Imagine if I had to type in here and I didn't get an autocomplete. So I type in London here. This. Imagine if this didn't have an autocomplete and I had to type in the exact entry every time, otherwise it wouldn't work. Like it really does make it a lot faster. And you don't know that it's called exactly LGW Gatwick. So if you don't type in that exact same thing in Excel, you would need to click from the drop-down list, and you would need to spend probably a long time navigating through this very long list of items in order to get there. So from a user perspective, as someone who does data entry, it really makes it exponentially faster. looking at some other Google Sheets things. So let's say that you have a drop-down list that you want to create that has some duplicates and has some spaces like this. If I go to these cells and I go to data and data validation, I can choose a list here. And this is just a little one, reject input, but Google will automatically take out the duplicates and ignore the blanks as well. So if you leave some blanks, you can enter some more later on quite easily. So again, something that Excel doesn't do. Excel will give you all the duplicates, and if you do blanks, it will show you blanks. So if I have here Spain and Spain again, if I go to data validation, a list over here, and I choose a lot of blanks, it will show me those blanks and it will show me those duplicates. So it's better for an also expanding list as well. What does Excel do better with data validation? It has Go To Special. I absolutely love Go To Special. Find and select Go To Special. You can select all the cells with data validation in the worksheet, and it can easily show you whether you've made some mistakes or left some things out. You can also select a cell and choose data, find and select Go To Special, data validation, and same, and it will only show you the ones with that same data validation. Whilst we're on Go To Special, another very cool trick is you can select a column, and here I have the formula appearing consistent, but here I have a manual overwrite, and here as well, someone typed in 11. So you can select a column, you can go to Find and Select and go to Special, and you can choose Column Differences. This will pre-select every cell in that column that has a different formula. I can highlight them in a color to make them stand out then later on. So that is Go To Special. Google does not have that. So it makes managing and maintaining data validation a little bit harder to do. But having said that, Google has checkboxes, which are great. It has date pickers, it has autocomplete, and it automatically ignores blank cells and automatically ignores duplicate values. But yeah, for those reasons, I find when you have a data validation heavy solution, I will always choose Google Sheets because it is just more robust and it makes the user experience better.
And you talk about checkboxes. What happens to the checkboxes in the developer tab? Like, how is that not useful if you needed a checkbox?
They're floating objects. They're not linked to a cell, and the developer tab is not for the faint-hearted.
Okay.
And you need a special macro to assign them to something. You can't just do a count or a sum like you can with Google. They're a lot harder and have less potential to work with. And if you want to add multiple checkboxes, you can't just select something in the developer tab and then do that. So that's referring to this one. You sort of need to draw them one by one and then need to manually assign what they do. It's just a lot more difficult than just being able to select a group of cells and go to insert and choose a checkbox, from my opinion. All right, so with that, let's launch the poll. This is for data validation. So yeah.
Sorry, I was muted. It's launching now.
Great.
So now Google Sheets is winning.
Yeah, I knew that would happen. As I said, when I develop custom solutions and the client is like, choose the medium that you want. If data validation is a staple, which for me it often is, then I will choose this one. Sure. I'll choose Sheets. All right, good. And we have Sheets winning.
Let me ask you a question. Can you input your unique formula in a data validation to select unique items in Excel?
Yeah. Can you put in a unique formula to do unique items?
Instead of just selecting the range, putting the range wrapped in a unique formula to.
I have never done that, but I assume it would work. Let's try. Equals data validation equal a custom formula equals unique like this.
I don't think it works. I was just answering that question in the chat. I think the only way would be to put the unique formula in a cell.
Exactly, like this.
And then create a number. Yeah. And then maybe create a name that refers to that cell hashtag, or maybe just point the data validation range to M2 hash sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so a two-step solution.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, two-step solution, and again, not for the, like Google just does it. You don't have to do anything special. It's like the day picker, it just does it, which I love.
It was nice to have that in Excel also.
Yeah, oh, for sure, yeah. So let's go to dynamic arrays first, because for me, this is the big one. As I said, Excel launched dynamic arrays, and if I go to Excel over here, I can say, for example, well, let me just remove these. I could say equals unique. I already showed this actually, of these ones. And it will give me just the unique values there. Another one that I love is equals sort unique. And it will do these, but sort them from A to Z. Also very good. And Excel does filter. So you could say filter, give me everything from these columns where this is equal to female, like that. It will give me all of these where that's equal to female. So this is more or less where Excel kind of ends. It does have some other dynamic arrays. I won't go into all of them, but it does kind of give you those with functions. But filter, I find, is just not very good. Like, you only have one parameter that you can write, and I know you can use some hacks to change it, but it's not that simple. And secondly, it doesn't give you the headers. So I need to manually cut these headers and paste them here. And to me, that just doesn't make it dynamic if I have to do that manually. Thirdly, I have to choose the columns in the right order. I can't rearrange the order on the fly as I want them here. Google. So we do have the filter function, which is more or less the same as Excel, except you have multiple conditions. So I can say this, where this is equal to male, and this is equal to so that will give me these answers. Multiple parameters quite easily. It still doesn't give me the headers, but that is where you get query function. And query function, once you played with query function, every dynamic array in Excel feels like child play. Equals query, and you can say, give me this data. And you can write kind of SQL code in here. So I could say, select columns C, A, E in any order you like, where B equals male. Single quotations. And then close your brackets, and it gives you any order you like with the headers like that. Isn't that great? You can do query function. I'm just getting started. I mean, query, you can also have a sort order. You can also pivot it. You can group it. You can do, you can change the labels. You can change the custom formatting on each column. I have a YouTube video just about query and another one about dynamic arrays in Google Sheets. So another thing, very, very useful, doesn't exist in Excel. You can use sort n. So equals sort n. Give me all of the columns, say here, where top 5 display ties, I'm going to say 0, and then the sort column is going to be this one, and then I'm going to say is ascending true. Like that. So yeah, it just sorts the top 5 by this column, which is quite nice. And some other stuff you can do. So you have the split function equals split. This. I want to split every delimiter that is this sort of chevron. Close my brackets. And it gives me that in 3 separate cells. Really, really easy. And finally, and this one I learned recently, you can combine 2 data sets. So here I can use this notation. I can say equals curly brackets, this one, semicolon, this one, close my curly brackets, and then it just stacks them on top of each other, which is fantastic. Oh, one thing that Excel does that doesn't do is the hash notation. So if you want to refer to an entire group of cells that is using dynamic arrays, you can use this hash notation, and that does grow automatically. So Google doesn't do that feature, but Excel does. And the other thing with Google, if you want to do dynamic arrays on any normal calculation, like I want to do equals this divided by this, this will not work. It will just do it in one cell, but you can do equals array formula first, and then I can just do this divided by this, and then it does work as the Excel array functions do. All right, so that is dynamic arrays, Google Sheets versus Excel. So I showed you the query function, I showed you sort n, I showed you split, I showed you the way to stack 2 tables together, and I showed you in Excel the hash notation. So shall we have a vote?
Okay. Going to launch it. Taking answers. Will you still need another poll, David?
I have one more, but you can actually still edit whilst I'm speaking the number 2 that you didn't finish. I think you should be able to edit that one.
Doesn't.
Or if not, we can do that. It's not a big deal.
It says, it's live.
Okay.
So it doesn't. If I,
you can add a new one. You can add a new one as well during the session. Yeah, this is new. This is new. New feature. The poll.
Where would I have the new one? Would it be on the chat? Because
no,
I don't.
So on the top. On the top.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on the top right, the forms icon.
No, but it says create new there. I see it now. Okay.
That's
Got
good.
it.
Right. We have 17 responses. Oh, okay. We have a comment from Alan Murray. There are formula hacks to bring the headers over for your filter, but that should be an optional question. Sometimes you not want the headers. You just want the data. Yeah, that is true. But Google actually with query does give you the option. The last input is headers, so you can say what you want for the headers. So I agree that you don't always want it, but absolutely, I think it should be optional. All right, and it seems like Google has won that poll. A lot of people saying they love the query function, and apparently Excel had an SQL.request function that they removed. Excel is Power Query. Absolutely, yeah. Go on.
I was going to say for that thing of putting together two sets on top of each other.
Yes.
Mike Gervin from Excel is Fun recently published, I think, a series of 3 different videos with crazy solutions for that. One of them was filter XML formula. So, but anyways, it was also possible to do that. I think one was with Power Query. I'm not sure. It was possible to do that in Excel too, but not as instantaneously as you showed in Google Sheets.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that, like, you know, if you can find a hack to do it, that's one thing, but it's just amazing when you can just do it to anything. So yeah, I have in some of my recent videos, I have an entire video on query, and I have another video on dynamic arrays in Google Sheets. There's a link to my YouTube, and I have another one too of dynamic arrays in Excel, of course, as well. All right, so last one, and this is a brand newly released feature. Yeah, okay, let me refresh this. So the ability to get exchange rates. Okay. I'm going to refresh this again. It seems to pop up for a second, so you can get these spark lines, and then it goes away, I think because of my internet connection. But I wanted to say that sparkline in Google Sheets is a function, which means you can get the 7-day, 30-day, or 365-day trend inside a cell like this by putting in a dynamic array inside the sparkline feature. What I love here is I created this. This is a way to search for currencies. So I have the base currency of USD. Press enter, and then it will look up these exchange rates when my internet is not terrible like it is right now. Yeah. So and also it allows you to, because this is data validation in Sheets world, it allows you to say, you can either type in and get this drop-down list, you can type in the 3 letters, or you can type in the country, and it will still give you all of these things, all of these options, which is quite nice. Then I have a summary that combines this in a pivot table, month and average by month, or an average by year as well. So this is using the Google Finance function. So you can write equals Google Finance, and you can say currency USD EUR, and then attribute price. Start date is 1/1/2020. End date, I can say today. And then interval, I can say either daily or weekly. Daily is 1. So it's going to fetch the exchange rate for all of those rows there. Still loading the data. You can also get, with stocks, you can get a little bit more. So equals Google Finance, and you can say AAPL, and the attribute can be, I can say all, and then I could say start date is, let's say, 1st of March 2021 to today. interval is 1. And then in a normal world, when my internet wasn't broken, this would work well. But yeah, it's not working that well at the moment. So Google Excel has recently, just last month, added the ability to do that with this function called stock history. So stock history allows you to specify the stock exactly the same. This is what I mean. Excel is just copying Google. Stock, start date, 1st of, let's say, March 2021. And then if I just close it there, it will just give it to me for that one day, like this. But if I keep going, and it does have the headers, which is nice. The first time Excel's done that. End to today. And then interval, I can leave blank, or I can do daily, weekly, monthly, which gives me more options than Google. But yeah, interval, I'm going to say daily. And then I can choose headers or no headers. I'm going to choose show header is 1. And then I can choose which other things that I want. I can get the open, the close, the high, the low, or the trading volume. Trading volume doesn't apply to currency exchanges, though. Yeah, again, it should give me the full list of all of them, even though it's just giving me this one. So yeah, sorry again for the internet issues. There we go. Oh, it finishes on the 1st, so it doesn't include yesterday because it hasn't closed yet. So there you go. Now it's giving me for all of these dates with the close there, which is quite nice. So it's just got released yesterday, last month, the stock history. Before that, what you had was the ability to get it today. You could select some USD EUR or GBP THB, and you can select them and go to data and choose stocks. And then you can add any one of these details, like the price would be the main one. And you can see a lot of them there as well. So this is using the data types that have been launched in Excel. Data types are great. Like I do a lot of analysis on COVID data. I actually write some articles for the local press here that analyzes and compares COVID data. And you can do lots of calculations by comparing, for example, the population to the number of COVID cases, or in some, I did some analysis on things like the median age, the urban population percentage, the life expectancy, average deaths in a year. And you can do that by selecting some cells and going to the geography feature to getting that. So that's pretty good. And there's some more features that are coming with data types because that is a huge direction that Excel is developing. So Google doesn't allow you to do that, but it does allow you to quite slickly get these exchange rates that allows you to do something. And if you, I have a video where I show how to do this, and I say that if people want access to this spreadsheet that works dynamically, there you go, this is working better. So I can say TypeBot as the base, and it will recalculate those. And then it works out the averages as well here. So if anyone wants access to something like this to manage their finances or look at exchange rates, then let me know. And I'm giving this on my YouTube channel to anyone who subscribes to my channel. I'm giving them this for free. So you can see the trend from a start date to an end date. Again, because Sparkline is as a function rather than as a tool in Excel in itself. All right, so that is the finance, and that's the last one that I wanted to do. So well, let's have the last vote for that one, and then we'll wrap up and look at questions.
Just launching it now. There you go.
A lot of chat comments. Bit hard for me to take questions from this. Yeah, I have a few references to Power Query. I love Power Query. I agree with that.
Is there any limit of rows in Google Sheets? Do you know, David?
So I would say that Google does definitely slow down when you get to too many rows. So you can add, I don't think it's 1 million. I'm not entirely sure what the limit is. But if you're going with anything above 10,000, I'd say you have to stick to Excel. Now, I was discussing this with my colleague yesterday. The two of us said that we, well, I'll show you the conclusion in this. Okay, and then we'll close up.
Okay, so this was almost a tie.
Yeah, that's because I couldn't show the Google stuff. Otherwise, no, I mean, Excel is easier for the current one because it has this button, but the Google Finance function just does 10 times what the stock history function does. As much as stock history has been just released, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, Google Finance does a lot more. Okay. Excel on the web, I've had a few mentions of. It doesn't come close, I would say, to what Google Sheets is able to do. All right, good. So let me close up my slides now. Get to the finish line. So for me, the winner is Excel because of Power Query, and that is hands down the best thing that's happened for a long time. If I need to do a solution that involves data validation, or where the query function could be useful, i.e. where I'm going to use dynamic arrays or data validation, I will always choose Google. But if I'm going to look at Power Query, then Excel wins hands down. I did have a question that was, am I going to, does Google work online? Yes, Google Sheets can work offline for sure. So that brings me to the last thing I want to show you, which is, well, here's Thanos. Some of you may know what he did. He snapped his fingers, and that meant that half of the features went away. So if you do like Excel, then Excel needs to be on Office 365. So here I have a summary of what are the features that I've shown, where they're available. Excel 2013, 16, 19, 365, and whether they're available on Sheets, yes or no. So I have this. I'll send, Celia can share it with the group afterwards as a summary list. Or instead of using this yes, no thing, I mean, Google just makes it so much better by having these check boxes over here, like this. So yeah, again, check boxes, they're just so nice and easy and very simple for people to understand. So Power Query, absolutely love that, but Google Sheets can't do that. All right, good. So I will close up there and go back. Sorry I went over on time, and apologies again for the internet connection. Need to speak to my ISP because this has never happened to me. But yeah, if there's any questions, I can still take some questions. I know people wrote some in the chat, but there's a lot of comments in the chat, so it's hard to pick those up. So I can take some new questions.
I wrote down only a couple of them. One of them at the beginning was from Sean asking if, you know, that link that you can send by email to refer to cell range in Google Sheets.
Yes.
Sean was asking if people can see other cells when they go. I think he was asking when they go into the link if they can also see other cells besides that range.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can see everything. It's just a link to be able to direct them to that place. Yeah. In terms of only able to see certain cells, you can use embed options through Google Sheets, which you can actually through Excel as well. Actually, one of my most recent videos is how to embed Excel on a website, which you can do, and you can get it to show certain cells as well. Yeah.
That was a good video. I watched that one. I recommend. It was. It has
thank you.
great potential.
Yeah.
I haven't applied
sure.
it yet, but I think it could be interesting to apply that to a actual business situation.
Yeah. So here's an example of when I've applied it. So this is a post-training resource that I did for people who came to my course. And I actually embedded the Excel workbook here, which again should be loaded.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh yeah. So you can create a hub that has slides that people can click next to, Excel files that you can embed on a website, or a sway file that I love using as well. So yeah. Any other questions
or comments? I would love to hear from people attending, all of you. If you were surprised with something, if you have any comments. I've also
got no love for Power Pivot as a question. The data model is damn impressive. Yes, again, Google Sheets does not have a Power Pivot equivalent. Power Pivot is good. I personally am more of a Power Query fan, but doesn't mean that I don't love Power Pivot.
Yeah, sometimes without the Power Pivot, you end up having to build very heavy queries.
Yeah, any other final questions or remarks?
I think it's important to add, like, it's always really great that you guys can really spend your time and help us out. It's always appreciative. It's what time is it in your area now, David?
So it's now 7:30 a.m. I just started I started at 6, and my next task for the day is actually I write a daily report and make some visuals on news about COVID cases here. So I work with one of the media outlets here. So every day at 7:30 they publish the new case numbers, especially since the most recent outbreak. So that's generally my task every morning that I'm going to get to.
Wow. Well, we appreciate all the time that you take in order to help us. So.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no worries. I appreciate that remark. It's very.
Yeah, I'm in Toronto, so I'm gonna have dinner next and then sleep.
Yeah, this is the Toronto Meetup group, so I imagine a lot of people are in Toronto.
Yes, we have a couple of people, but also from the UK and different other cities and places, Portugal. Robert is asking, can a professional work only in one? I'm not sure what it means. Convert files, use only one app.
Yeah,
maybe
you can.
One query.
You can download Excel, Google Sheets into Excel. You can download Excel into Google Sheets quite easily, actually. Yeah, it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, I think my only note to maybe complete this would be when you say that Excel is copying Google Sheets. I guess we can assume that, but Google Sheets started first, so.
You mean Excel started first?
No, I mean Google Sheets started copying Excel first.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I mean, and Excel was not the very first spreadsheet tool, but it's undoubtedly the most used over the years and throughout the world. So I mean, it's how things are, and there should not be. I don't think there should not be shame on that, because it's always how it happens, right? There's a product, and other competitors try to make it at least as good as, if not better, and because they are built from different perspectives. For example, Google Sheets was always online, so whatever it does better or worse than Excel because of that. I'm guessing there will be some limitations as well from being online, and the other way around. The desktop version also can do things better and others not so good because of that. So And there's different case scenarios for both.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
well, look,
Yeah,
collaboration is important, right? So when you're in the same tenant and you have the same tool in a corporate setting, it's a little bit different. It's one of the reasons why you have to, I as a user, I prefer using Excel because even if I have to dig deeper, once you learn it, when you do a certification, you have to learn those things anyways. So it becomes familiar to you once you start using it. But for the small businesses that doesn't have the ability to buy a whole Excel suite or Office 365, then it's different, right? So I think it's more about, I think someone asked the question, we're in a scenario where you can use both, then that's great when you can use both, right?
Yeah, I agree. Some businesses use the Google G Suite, and in those cases, I tend to implement solutions using Sheets. I do what the client prefers. Also, now Microsoft has Microsoft Forms, and they're great. That was a big difference when there was no Forms feature in Microsoft, that Google just had Forms for a long, long time. I would say, I don't know who does Forms better. They're very similar, but they have different pros and cons.
There's one feature in Forms that Excel still needs to catch up, but I think it has to do with all the security settings that Microsoft always implements, and that is the ability to attach a file to the form or to an answer. So when submitting a reply to a form and you want to attach a file, I haven't tried it with Google Sheets, but I've heard it works with Google Sheets very well. And in Excel, it does also work if you are in the same tenant. But if you are opening the form to people outside, they cannot send you files. I think that's at the moment.
Because the location where they store it is within SharePoint
exactly.
OneDrive.
Yeah,
so that's the one.
I think they are working on changing that because that would be really important.
I'm going to test that. None of you mentioned that. I'm going to test that with my personal account because I use Forms on my personal account for quite a lot. And I never tried to see if it will allow me to do that. So if I can do it on a personal account, that would be a good. Have you tried that, Celia?
It doesn't work with Forms in Microsoft does not allow you to. You can add that question and that option, send a file, but then it only allows inside the tenant, not inside the organization, not from people outside.
But on a personal account, on a personal Outlook account.
Oh, I haven't tried it. No.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll try it on.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Because it's getting late, and David has his COVID report to update.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, David. That was awesome. I have a whole. I have 3 pages of notes here, David.
Oh, wow. About Google or Excel or both?
Both.
Okay. Yeah, I still wanted to show some nifty Excel features for people that may not have known those. So I'm glad that I
check out your YouTube page. I'll definitely subscribe to that to see what else I can bring in on my team as well. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, my next video is on stock history. So because that just got released last month. So that's going to be my next video, how to get exchange rates in Excel. I have a Google one, and I'm going to make the Excel one now.
So is that on YouTube or is it part of the Toronto Meetup group? Where are you going to present that?
That's just a YouTube video.
Okay. Yeah. Great. And as always, Celia, absolutely, thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're very welcome. I learn a lot here always, so it's for all of us.